Welcome back, everyone. I'm David, and this is my journey building a 5-foot studio scale Millennium Falcon from the ground up. So grab a seat, and let's get back to work on the fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy. Alright, what we're going to be working on here today will be the rear engine hatch and the upper port mandible. What you see here is most of the 3D printed parts. Um, Pretty much had to assemble it multiple times just to make sure that the parts were going to fit properly. Probably spent 2 months um, printing and figuring this thing out. It was a lot of assembly, disassembly, assembly. Originally, I had planned on adding speakers to the rear vent section on the hatch, but that all changed. And what you're seeing here is me getting it lined up and getting it ready for a keyhole saw. I should have done it in the I should have pre-done it, but I just wanted to actually do it by hand. This area right here is extremely busy. There's a lot of layering when it comes to this particular section of the engine hatch. And what I used, one of my reference materials was the Bandai 172nd Perfect Grade Millennium Falcon. I do have a lot of research material on this hatch, but my go-to for the assembly was actually using the um, parts of the manual from the Bandai model kit. As you can see right here. So I'm pretty happy where I'm at with this at this moment. There are a few parts, actually quite a few parts that I printed at the wrong scale. Um, but I finally figured it out right there close to the end. Now this is, I'm actually starting to do the assembly on it. Got all the holes drilled out. Started smoothing everything out. A lot of these, this different color filament that I'm using, I basically wanted to show that they were all individual parts, and all of them being printed the same color would also be a little straining on the eyes. So it worked best just to have the different color filament. And I know printers are capable of printing multiple colors now, but doing that you would have a lot of waste material and stuff like that. But I want all these parts to be individually printed and get the highest quality of them that I could. Uh, there was a lot of waste making this particular section of the Falcon. A lot of trial and error trying to print these parts out in ABS filament, but I was able to pull it off. It's not perfect, but it's close enough. All right, now we're getting up to this is my first I was so desperate to shoot some primer on it to see how it was going to turn out, and it actually turned out pretty good. So what you'll see later on is you'll see sections of it starting to get primed. Those are actually finished sections. I wasn't worried about overspray or anything like that because the acetone that I'm using, uh, I'll use it to blend that primer into some uh, defective areas or whatever areas that needed to be cleaned up. I could just move that primer around with acetone. Now here I'm recording, I'm taking pictures of it in different lighting so you can see the detail. You know, the shadowing really shows, actually helps the detail pop so you can get a really good visual of how detailed it is. Right up until I start weathering it, then the detail starts just really starts to pop. All right, coming up on the getting ready to start doing the base coat on it. The base coat is black. Once I get that base coat down, I'll shoot it with some white spray paint. It's all rattle cans. And here I'm doing the final setting for the engine vents because I didn't want to get any of the paint down inside of those vents. So now coming up on the weathering. Now while I was doing weathering, a lot of this is pastels and a little bit of airbrushing, but there's several layers of flat clear. So whenever I was doing the pastel work or the decal work, all that stuff, I was pretty much just layering it down in layers of clear flat paint. Now we're coming up on the starboard and the port details right past the engine hatch on the rear section. And here you can see the plumbing and some of the details are the same over here. Got these sections primed up. There's still a little bit of detail sanding I'll need to do when I get it ready for paint. There's still the black base coat I got to put on it. But the rear engine hatch is done. So now we're coming up on the mandible, the port mandibles, where I'm going to start working on. And you can see here, this is a time lapse. I'm getting ready to, all these parts are just sitting on there. They're not glued down yet. I was saving that just for this video. So I'm going to disassemble everything, uh, showing the detail on some of these 3D printed parts, which is pretty good in itself. Not really a whole lot of cleanup when it comes to these parts. And you can see these, I kind of ran out of filament. That's why you're seeing this bright yellow filament. Uh, and I didn't want to stop printing because I had a lot of parts that I needed to get done. So that's where you're seeing this bright yellow. I'm just getting all the little gribblies out of the pit. I'm going to vacuum it out, make sure there's no trash in there. Um, then I'm going to actually start sealing it with acetone and basically soften it up. It'll help the parts adhere a lot faster, or actually not adhere, but basically fuse together. Because I'm going to fuse these parts together once I lay them down. And I've got to get these pits done because once again, there's some overlapping parts that'll interfere with my next section of the build. So I got to get this plumbing laid down, um, get it installed. So, but I got to get this pit done first. But everything needs to line up. And yeah, I probably could have built these. I know I could have built them before I uh, installed the pits, but this is just how I wanted to do it. Um, but there's multiple ways of doing this. I just picked the hardest way. Now, once I get all these parts set, I will go back and I'll put a light coat of acetone over it, and that'll help seal those parts and actually drop any layer lines that's on it. And ABS is it can handle the acetone, and it does a really good job. But the acetone does a really good job of fusing the parts together. It's almost like glue and styrene plastic together. But acetone on styrene would just literally dissolve it in a matter of seconds. With ABS, it takes a little bit. So I try to keep the temperature around 75 degrees. That'll keep the acetone from evaporating too fast. The hotter it is, the faster the evaporation, and I really need these parts to be fused together because this is going to be sitting on a motion control rig, and I don't need any of the parts just flexing and popping off. So what I'm doing there is I'm basically just pressing the parts down. There's some acetone. I put another layer of acetone in there, and I'm basically pushing down on the parts, and you can literally see the plastic start to ooze. And then I'll just go back with my brush, and I'll just pull that oozing off of there to try to keep the parts sharp. And here on a close-up view here, you can see some of the layer lines. Those will disappear when I'm done. And there's not a whole lot of elbow work or anything like that involved. A lot of it's just a paintbrush and some sanding. Now I do make what I call a slurry, an acetone ABS slurry. I'll make it in different viscosities. If I'm doing filling or whatever, I'll have like a light viscosity, and I'll use that acetone and those dissolved ABS scrap pieces to act as a filler, and I'll literally just paint it into the layer lines or the defective areas. Once again, I don't use any Bondo or any filler putty, any of that stuff. I just use the acetone and the scrap ABS material. And that's what you're seeing here right now. I'm actually doing the front upper port mandible pit. And I'll just let capillary action take place here. Basically, just put some acetone on there, and that capillary action will take place, and it just pulls the acetone up inside of the part. Now my pits aren't perfect. Um, they're a little bit more. There's a little bit more space in there than what I needed. Um, but they still turned out pretty good. Um, well, these parts I'm putting in right here, they're actually a little bit too far up in there. Uh, and once I get them in there, they're not coming out. I would literally have to use one of my woodworking tools, and what you see off and on, I will literally have to go in there and cut it and cut it out of there with a woodworking tool. So that's what I actually use woodworking tools on this ABS plastic. It actually carves it like you wouldn't believe. It carves it better than an X-Acto knife. So if you want to try something like this, buy you a set of cheap working or cheap woodworking tools. They come in handy. Well, these parts that you see me installing right now, I've probably printed these parts several times trying to get the best part possible to go on these pits. So a lot of the wasted material or the defective parts, that's what I use to make my slurry, my ABS slurry with that and the poop from my printer. Now the good thing about the acetone is you can, if you don't have any primer on it, I mean it's still possible, but the good thing is um, before I'm complete, I might have to lay down some more acetone just to release a part and move it, because sometimes I will get the alignment wrong, and I'll have to go in there and put some acetone on it, and it'll give me a chance to actually move the part. But after it's set for 24 hours and it gets primed up, you're not moving it. And this is a finished pit right here. As you can see, it's turned out fantastic. No layer lines. Looks like an actual kit part. Let's see these before and after shots here. Now moving on to the plumbing. I have done a little bit of sanding and cleanup on this mandible itself. So I'm getting ready to lay the pipe down. Um, got a few more parts to glue, but I'm getting ready to finish off this particular section here. I did have to use my mini heat gun to uh, shape these parts a little bit better. Now, once again, I'm just sitting here using that capillary action, letting the acetone flow down the pipe or the plumbing. And it doesn't affect anything. You can see it just flowing out to the sides, but it does not affect anything. Once it dries, uh, you sand it, light sand it, comes out great. And this is the forward pit on the upper port side. That's a couple of views of it before I take it out and shoot some primer on that. And here you go. Another completed section. Well, that's coming up to the end of this video. Alright, coming up in the next video, we'll be working on the center walkways and possibly the gun turrets. If you made it to the end of this video, it is very much appreciated. And if you like what you see, hit that like button, share and subscribe. And if you'd like to support this channel, buy me a coffee. Links in the description. And once again, thanks for watching. See you next time.